I want to talk about the debate faith room. This is a room at Stickum where religious debate is supposed to go on. It's run by some atheists, and I find it very disturbing. First of all, it's not really clear what the point is because they really attack theists in there. And they don't limit it to that either. They attack agnosticism. Really, they attack anything that doesn't fit their worldview. They're very dogmatic about the approach. And I'm not saying this about everybody that's ever been in that room. I've been in that room, and I've had some good, conversations in there as well, even when the regular proprietors are there, though better conversations when they aren't. But, the people in there really seem to be trying to use science as a replacement religion. And, their understanding of science is not that great, and I found that a lot with atheists that try to resort to science for their new dogma. They don't necessarily understand science that well. And if you probe them, then they will abandon science just as much as any other theist. A common example is for people that don't realize that science does not support determinism anymore. When you point that out, or if you just point out that science is made of theories, these guys want to scramble and find out some reason that what they believe is actually true anyway. So, for example, I was in there and they're debating, like the God being the creator of the universe to the theory of the Big Bang. And it's like they're trying to compare these two things. But that's not really what's compared in the scientific method, right? Because if the Big Bang turns out to be false, I'm not giving up my belief in science. I don't believe in science because it came up with the Big Bang and that convinced me. I believe in the scientific method. I believe in the scientific method, all right? Now, they were ridiculing some agnostic and calling him names and retard because he had asked, well, what was 2 years before the Big Bang? Yes, time and space unfolded, and this is something we should discuss. It's very interesting. But if somebody acts like it's a pat answer, like, well, you're just an idiot, and that's what they were saying. You're just an idiot. You need to read A Brief History of Time by Hawkins. Well, that's a fine book, but these people were talking about the Big Bang with more certainty than any cosmologist would speak about it. I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff about the Big Bang cosmologists don't pretend to have organized and understood the physics of. But a bunch of atheists can, because they're looking for certainty. The real distinction is not between atheist and theist. I mean, to distinguish yourself as an atheist, you might as well distinguish yourself as, an a-clausist. You don't believe in Santa Claus. I mean, what the hell does that really say about you? It says a lot more about you if you have a skeptical approach to knowledge or not. You guys are trying to use science to give you the same kind of religious certainty that theists got from God. And you really, you demote and destroy the value of atheism when you do that. Now, I really don't understand the purpose of this room other than for some people to feel superior. I've been called an idiot in there when I proposed any spiritual idea. These guys consider themselves no nonsense, and that means that they're not going to follow the scientific method if it means considering something like the Gaia hypothesis. They're not going to, they reject these things out of hand and think that they can call on science to back them up. Much like a theist rejects something out of hand and just says, well, the Bible, and doesn't have to think about it. It's all excuse for not thinking. Now, I'm not entirely against this. I think we need atheists to go ahead and, of this type that I'm criticizing, to go ahead and work against the theists who still control our culture, or I don't really believe they control the culture, but theistic ideas pollute our culture. Let's put it that way. But even given that, I'm not seeing the value of debate faith. You know, it's entirely preaching to the choir. It's entirely so that a dozen people can go, it's really fun to get out all my cathartic anger at random strangers on the internet. And it's just a self-serving sort of a pleasurable feeling that they get. And they do it against agnostics or anybody that questions the dogma that they believe in. They're not very creative. They don't see the unknown parts of the universe. I think it's counterproductive. They're not convincing any theists. They're turning off any open-minded atheists. And it's an exercise in futility. The only value it serves is to show once more why atheism is not a philosophy in itself, and why defining yourself in terms of theism makes you a part of theism.